Greetings, I'm Raining Moon, and this is Oak Moon Grove. In today's video, I want to discuss how animals talk, how they communicate. I think it's important to understand and learn about their communication because it helps us to more connect with nature and commune with it, and hence to live more in harmony with the earth. There are many different forms of communication across the board with animals. With a lot of wild animals, it's a lot of silent communication, and I will get to that. But I want to begin with bird communication, bird talk, with their songs. Now, songs for birds are very important. In some cases, it can mean life or death for the bird. They use up a lot of energy with their flight, so to be able to communicate from vast distances for alerts and alarms for things or to attract a mate is very important for them. I want to begin with the alarm call because this is one that is very, that they use quite often. You're going to hear it because a lot of times the alarms are going off about you because you're noticed when you go into these areas. So the alarm call, depending on the species of the bird, may sound a little different, but what's important to note about the alarm call is that it's going to sound like an alarm going off, like there's a fear in it, and it's a warning, and you can tell by the intonation of the sound that it is an alarm going off. And it doesn't matter what the bird species is, even though there are so many different species of birds and they all sound different, they all know what an alarm call is. And this sound is used even by other animals as well that are in the forest. When they hear the alarm going off from the birds, they know to look around and move away or to hide. There can be alarms for predators that are in the sky, predators on the ground. You can differentiate the more you listen to them when the alarm is for even scavengers that are egg stealers. So when you learn to tell the difference between the alarm for a ground predator, let's say a fox, you'll know then when you hear this alarm going off back towards this bush over there that there may be an animal on the grounds there, like a cat or something like that. Whereas the alarm for a hawk, then you'll know to look up in the air, and you will more likely be able to spot hawks in the sky. Hawks are very dangerous for a lot of birds because the hawks can fly, so it's very difficult for them to evade a sky predator, more difficult than it is for them to evade a ground predator like a fox or a cat or something like that, because when that alarm goes off, they know to just get higher ground, so fly up higher in the tree so they can get away from that animal. Now, when it's a scavenger like a raccoon, some kind of egg stealer, you will notice that the alarm will go off and the birds will kind of loop up in a tree, and then a lot of times they will end up dive bombing the animal. And it's pretty neat that you can, by understanding this sound, this song, you can know where to look and what may be around you in the forest. So it's a really cool way of tuning into and connecting with the area around you. The Mohawks said that the birds of of this particular land can tell you a lot, the story about the area. And it's true, it can give you a heads up, it can give you a lots of information, and a lot of the other animals use the birds in this way to give them that alarm. That's why the alarm is a really important one to know and understand. Another song I want to talk about is that beautiful morning song. You will know when you hear it because it's very melodic. This is often the mating song sung by the male birds to attract a female. And this can also just be a song of pure joy. And some Native Americans also said too that this type of song was actually singing praise to the Creator when the sun was rising, and I think that is really beautiful. Another song I want to talk about is the sound of the male-to-male aggression. Now, this might be a little confusing, as you might think it's an alarm at first, but to differentiate, with the male-to-male aggression, you'll hear one angry bird and then one other angry bird, and it goes back and forth. And if you look, you can see those two kind of, they tend to be more vocal about their arguments and this is my turf kind of thing. But when you have the alarm, the difference there with the upsetness, that intonation in the call, is that you will hear several different species of birds doing their alarm often at the same time, and not even just birds, but you listen in, then you may hear squirrels adding into that, or vice versa, like the squirrel might set off the bird. So that's how you can tell when it's an alarm versus the male-to-male aggression. Another song that I want to talk about is the call. And the call is a very basic form of communication between like a couple birds. Like you could use cardinals for an example. They give that chip, and there's another chip. It's more of like a, hey, I'm over here. Okay, I'm over here. It's okay. I'm over here. I'm just letting you know. Or I found food over here. Come on over here. So that one, the call to each other is not as melodic. It tends to be shorter. Then you have the baby bird song, which sounds very teeny tiny, and it does sound like a plea of an intonation. And if you listen, and this a lot of times you'll hear more in the spring when they're having their babies, you'll see the little bird flapping its wings if you hear this squeaky little plea type song. So it's really great to understand all these different songs and what they can mean, and this also tells you where to look. Also too, for the baby birds, when birds are nesting and having babies, they're quite vulnerable. So I would ask you to please give them space and keep a respectful distance so that you don't stress the bird out. They can become very easily stressed. So now the next thing I want to talk about is how to observe birds. Like I said, it takes a little time for you to understand the difference between the alarms, like if it's a ground predator or an air predator, and you will get to know and understand this the more you sit and actually listen. So how to observe birds, one of the best ways is to go and find a sit spot. So find a spot where you can return to time after time, different seasons, even different times of day, and observe the birds. And when you go, you want to be able to sit there quietly and without distraction. So that means no phone. And if you're going with somebody else, make sure that they know so that you're on the same page, to be quiet and try to not fidget and sit still. Give it about 30 minutes, 30 minutes at least. That is a good amount of time for the birds to settle down and relax and go back to their normal everyday routine, so you can observe them how they naturally are. So take that time and listen to the birds, because they can really teach us a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have more to say, so I will continue on a part 2. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to hear more. Until next time, I wish you love, serenity, and grace. Namaste.